Welcome, everybody, to Freelance Writing Direct. I'm your host, Estelle Erasmus, the author of Writing That Gets Noticed, Find Your Voice, Become a Better Storyteller, Get Published, which was named by Poets and Writers a best book for writers. Every week, I speak with novelists, with authors, with writers of every niche to talk about their tips, their tricks, their strategies, and how the sauce is made, including creative advice. I'll talk about essays and articles and share my own experience from 3 decades of publishing. So join me every week and grow your business and build your craft with Freelance Writing Direct. And don't forget to subscribe, rate, and review on iTunes. And follow along on Substack, where I share special clips for subscribers only at estelleserasmus.substack.com. Welcome, everybody, to this episode of Freelance Writing Direct. I'm your host, Estelle Erasmus, and today I am thrilled to have the Jane Pratt with us. Welcome, Jane.
Thank you. I'm thrilled to be here. I'm so happy this came together.
I mean, Jane is the founder of Sassy, of XOJane, which I had the pleasure of writing for in 2015, and now of the Substack, which is blowing up, called Another Jane Pratt Thing.
Yes.
So, Jane, we connected at Rachel Kramer Bustle's Open Secrets. And
Yes.
Rachel is so wonderful, and she's doing her own Substack with the confessional style that you started, that you were the trendsetter for, and very successfully. She had Open Secrets, an event, and you were a keynote speaker there, and we met, and I told you that I think you asked a question. You said, who here has written for the original?
And your hand went up.
And I raised my hand.
Yes.
And I even have my piece here. I shamed my niece for dyeing her hair pink. And I was thrilled. And you know who I worked with on that piece? The wonderful Emily McComb.
Emily McComb.
Now with HuffPost with Noah, who I love, Noah and Michael, and Emily at HuffPost Personal. So there's this whole history. And I love when that happens. And I'm just so excited to talk to you about everything you're doing, everything you've done. You are somebody who was one of the first, if not the first, to break the ground with traditional publishing. And I was in traditional publishing. I worked for American Woman, Woman's Zone, Shet. And so you did that, and you had women write voicey pieces, and you yourself are and were voicey, and that has never changed. I will say you're absolutely consistent.
Thank you. Decades later, I can't do it any other way. I'm like, just write it the way you would say it and say it, you know.
So we have so much to talk about, but I just wanted to show the pictures also for my piece. So I shamed my niece for dyeing her hair pink.
I remember this. It's so funny. 10 years ago.
And nobody understood why, and they were all kind of mad at me. And then I revealed a passage from my past where I was going to be front-facing with clients, and then I went to London and dyed my hair red and got like a modified mohawk, and they were like, that's not going to happen. So I wanted to protect her. And
it's hard to believe that's even you, that picture. It's really funny.
And I'm wearing my hair. It's funny because I'm wearing my hair up today, and it kind of has that resemblance. But it's so funny because the people in the comments section, they went crazy over this piece. I checked on the Wayback Machine where I got the archival footage of this, and it said that there were 335 comments. And I've had 500 for a New York Times piece that I wrote. But This one, it was amazing because unlike anywhere else, I responded to the commenters. I had a dialogue with them, and
Hmm.
they came around
Hmm.
to understand that I was trying to protect my niece. And I just thought it was just really a credit to you that you had built that kind of community.
Thank you. That was and is still with another Jane Pratt thing. The whole idea is let's just start the conversation with whatever the story is, but then let's all keep talking about it. And so rather than having it be comments where everybody's just bashing something or whatever, it's like no, we all get in there. I get in the every single comment thread on another Jane Pratt thing, and I did it on XOJane too. I love it. I love talking about it. Yeah, hearing all different sides.
How did this all start for you?
To
Let's
tell
go
you.
back to Sassy because I was like, I wrote for Teen Magazine and 17. I never wrote for Sassy, but that was when I noticed it. I absolutely noticed it. And
Yeah.
women of all generations were noticing it back then. And so tell me how that came about.
When I was a teenager, first of all, I was in a situation where I was away at boarding school. I felt very alienated from the people around me. I felt like I didn't fit in. I didn't fit in. And so I would go and I would look at the magazines at the checkout and I would see 17, teen. At that time, it was called Young Miss. So what became YM, Young and Modern. And I would look at them and feel more alienated because I felt like I'm not like those girls either, the girls that I'm seeing in there, but I wanted something to relate to. So it was when I was 15, I said to my mom, I'm going to start a magazine for girls like me. I'm going to start a magazine that's open to all kinds of girls and makes them all see reflections of themselves in it. So that was the idea for Sassy. And then I was able to start it pretty soon after I got out of college. I got so lucky. There was an Australian company that was interested in getting into the American market. And I was like, here's my idea, da 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 da. So that's how Sassy was born. I hired people. One of my key writers at the very beginning, we celebrated her 21st birthday after the publication. So we were young. We were really young, just talking almost peer to peer to the readers.
You got
Yeah.
your 10,000 hours in early, as they say.
Yes, yes, exactly. Exactly. That's funny.
And then you went from Sassy to corporation taking.
Right. Well, I didn't know when I started Sassy, I didn't know the business of it. And I didn't know that by writing these things about abortion or, I had something, the very first issue written, and it happened to me story about a girl getting an abortion. I didn't know writing about that, writing about birth control, writing about gay teenagers, these kinds of things would be so controversial to the point where our advertisers would say, we don't want to be part of this. So that did happen. And we also got taken off a lot of newsstands because some right wing groups, said this is not appropriate or whatever. So that was a big lesson for me from what had been a really, really successful launch to like all of a sudden, boom,
They
the
were putting handcuffs on you, so to.
handcuffs. And yes, and they were making it hard for people to get to the magazine. But it kept growing anyway, just word of mouth. It kept growing anyway. Yay, go teenage girls. When you want something, you make it happen. I was at Sassy for I think about 8 years or so, and then wanted to go ahead and do something else that sort of graduated from Sassy.
And
That was
XOJane, which was the corporation? Was it Time or?
well, first before XOJane, I did Jane magazine. So I went to that because I was getting all these letters from Sassy readers saying, we're getting to be, we're a little old for Sassy. I'm hiding it inside my copy of Vogue, when I'm riding the subway or whatever. So could you do something more for people my age? So that was the idea for Jane. And so I did Jane magazine also launched it with a slightly smaller publishing company, but Condé Nast bought Jane.
Yes, yes.
So I was there for quite a while too, and then went on to do XOJane, where we met.
I used to go to a lot of
virtually.
events with the Condé Nast people. They would walk in like out of a Robert Palmer video, all in black suits, mini skirts. They'd be like, I call them the Condé Nasties. No offense, not you, but
At
some of
all.
them were.
Not at all. I never fit in anywhere. And one of the reasons, actually, I think that they liked me for Sassy was because everybody else was coming in to their interviews looking buttoned up. And I came in wearing these old men's Navy shoes that were all beaten up that I had gotten at the Army Navy store with a skirt. And I was just, just me. And I did the same thing when I would go to fashion shows with Condé Nast. I would just show up just the way that I do.
How do you get such a sense of self so early? Because it sounds like that's what you had.
Yeah, great question. I think it came from that boarding school experience. I think it was because at that relatively young age, I was a young 15 also, and to be thrust into a situation where I had to just really figure out who I was and how I was going to survive this without any real support around me. And I just kind of went inside, figured out who I was. And I just said it to another Andover alum just last night, as a matter of fact, who went to the same boarding school. And I said, nothing will ever be that hard. And it hasn't ever been that hard. So everything after that, whether it's going and pitching Sassy magazine when I was 23 years old or whatever, to starting something new now, all these years later, nothing will be as hard as being that 15-year-old girl who was, in my dorm room alone, alienated.
You've also seen, I mean, I saw print was king, and then the internet came in, and now the big thing is Substack. You've been there, you've been evolving with it. So you went from Jane, then you went to XOJane, where I had the pleasure of writing something for the publication. Now, when did you leave or end XOJane?
So XOJane was sold to Time Inc., but I stayed on there, and I stayed on for a couple of years, and then it was time. All of those publications were sold to Meredith, so another publisher, and Meredith and I go way back. They've never liked me. So yeah, I mean, I'm just not there. They're much more conservative
They
than I am.
became dot dash, whatever that
Yes,
was.
it
Now,
did.
now
It
they're
did.
They
Uh-huh.
changed again to like they're continually changing, it seems. They used to be
Exactly.
like this nice Midwestern kind of company, but
Yes. Yes. Who knows now? Who knows?
yeah.
So that was when we parted ways. And that was when I started thinking about, okay, what am I going to do next? What is it going to be next? And that's how I came up with the another Jane Pratt thing idea. Same idea. It's basically one good idea I've had my entire career, and I've done it now 4 times.
That's amazing. And so tell me about like deciding to go to Substack because you seem to be an early adopter or just somebody who just starts the whole thing. I'm not an early adopter. I'm a later adopter. I came to Substack like last year, but I like it. But tell me about your experience with it.
Well, I like it too. Substack has created such a positive, huge community. Like, it's really expansive if you look at all the different types of newsletters that they host. But one thing, like for example, you were talking about the comments on your XOJane post from 2015 or whenever that was. Well, we used to get so many comments on XOJane that were really, really nasty comments, right? And I didn't mind because I would go in there and I would talk to them anyway, and we would all come to kind of mutual understanding or whatever. But with Substack, I can barely drum up a negative comment. I can try as hard as I want to get people. I'm like, come on, let's argue, let's have opinionated debates in the comments. But just Substack has created such a really thoughtful, I feel like, community. And a lot of it is I probably because it's a community of writers, creators, editors, people who care a lot about the written word and therefore newsletters. Yeah, it's been just a really welcoming place to start this. Yeah.
And I want to talk about like the setup because you had your most popular, I guess, sections is It Happened to Me
Mm.
and also unpopular opinion. And
Yeah.
you've had this consistently, right?
Yes, yes. It happened to me was something I came up with when I was starting Sassy. I put it in the very first issue, and the idea behind it was that I would read these articles about certain issues in the other teen magazines at the time, and they would have a little bit of a quote from a girl going through the problem and talking about her problem, and then it would be followed up by quotes from experts, from doctors, saying, "Here's what you should do," says Dr. So and so from Harvard Medical School, blah, blah. And I would skip those. I'd be like, I really don't care about that. I want to hear the girl's story. So I said, let me just do a column that is first person, and it's just the person's story, and that's all that it is. It doesn't solve anything. It doesn't, it just tells you what they're going through. And maybe it's something you've also been through, or maybe it's something you have never been through and you want to know what it's actually like. So the very first issue, I didn't have any submissions yet, obviously. So I got my sister to write the first one. The first it happened to be my little sister wrote. And it's been just the most popular column that I've had for my whole career. People just, yeah, people love it.
Want to share their
Yeah,
story.
people, that's right. And you know what's amazing too to me? Now I've been publishing It Happened to Me for like 40 years or some ridiculous amount of time. Is it 40? Almost 40. And they still are, each one is still individual. I have never repeated a topic. It's pretty wild.
That,
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
that's
So,
just the totality of the human experience. It just
right.
so
That's
bad.
right. That's right. And as things change in the world, new things are happening to people and they want to tell about them. So, yeah.
And what about unpopular opinion?
So I didn't start Unpopular Opinion until XOJane. And first, I generally am not as interested personally in reading an op-ed piece. I like to hear what happened more than what someone thinks about what happened, generally. But I'm thinking there were sparks of it all throughout, though. Like there was something in Sassy. The back page of Sassy for a long time was called "Working Our Nerves," and it was things that were irritating us. So this, I guess, Unpopular Opinion was kind of a follow up on that, and people love it. It does tremendously well, and often they're really really funny too. It feels like less someone trying to convince you of their political opinion or whatever, and more just someone who has a really strong stance on some quirky thing for whatever reason. And so I love those now. It's one of my favorites. Yeah.
I just want to read, like, here's an unpopular opinion you had. Show me a full-time remote worker and I'll show you a part-time bullshitter. I love that.
I love it. Do you know that? Yes, that one came to me. She just wrote me an email. I think that, when people get your newsletter, they can just write back to you that
Yeah.
way. And so she just responded, and because I had said I wanted unpopular opinions or something. I don't think she was actually thought it was going to ever be for publication, but she was just getting it off her chest. So she wrote me back like a 2-line email saying, "You want an unpopular opinion? Here's what I think. All these people who say they're doing remote work, they're not doing it," or whatever. And I was like, that's actually a really, really good take. It's something people talk about, but I haven't seen it written about. And so I got back in touch with her, and she wrote the funniest, most brilliant essay about all the people around her who are supposedly working from home. They're actually like in their Winnebagos taking trips with their families.
Influencers.
Yes, exactly.
I want to say some of that. It happened to me, some of the recent ones. I worked at an escort service, but that's not the "it happened to me" part. I also stole two cats from them with my mom's help.
That one was wild. I hardly knew which part to grab onto because there was so much in that story. But
Yeah.
but I was like, yeah, it's not working in a strip club because we've seen that before. It's this other crazy part or whatever. Yeah, I like that
And
one.
titles just really say it, but also make you curious. So it's like a little bit of that both. Here's another one. I forced my boyfriend to go on an, I don't know if I'm saying it right, ayahuasca retreat with
Ayahuasca,
me.
yeah,
Hallucinations, vomit, and all.
yeah,
It kind of gives a little of the results, right? It's
right,
just
right.
Now you
Right.
want to know about the and all. What's the and all?
That
And then it happened to me. I dealt drugs for my dad at the age of 7.
was intense. And yes, she really did.
And
Intense.
the last one I'm going to mention, it happened to me. I sat next to a murderer in 10th grade English class and started an unhealthy obsession with true crime.
Yes. Yes. Yes, and now that's an example. So that story, and it's fun now because I'm so hands-on with every single one of the stories that you're talking about. I know the evolution of them and everything. Whereas it hasn't always been that way. There were times at XOJane where I was pretty hands-off, just working on other parts of the business, and Emily McCombs was churning these out every day. And there have been times where I haven't been able to be as involved as I am now for another Jane Pratt thing. But I'm hyper involved with every word that's going on there. Kind of back to the way I was when I started Sassy, because I had such a small team and I was just doing all the editing myself. But anyway, so that one was pitched very differently, about an obsession with true crime. But when the story came in, I thought the most interesting thing about it was this part about how she had sat next to this guy that then became a murderer, and she'd sat next to him in class. So yeah, it's
And
interesting.
so you'll take full pitches, or do you want to see stories when people are sending to you?
Ideally, I would like to see a whole story rather than a pitch. Yes, definitely, because sometimes the story is right there and done and basically just ready to be published. Yeah. Pictures, that is important too. That's something that I do that's very different, I think, from what's mostly out there, is that I put, and you saw it, when you had to include your own picture back in that XOJane post you did. I
I
think the
know.
pictures are important. I mean, that's what you and I are still looking at today and remembering how funny that is that you did have that look.
Hilarious. Yeah. So pictures are important. You want the person submitting to also have pictures that support.
Yes, yes. I think to get the sense that this is a real person telling a real story, especially, well, always we've had so much stock photography that would show. That was another thing I remember from just being a teenager reading magazines. If I would be reading a story about, I just say, like, about date rape, for example, which was a big issue at that time. And then you'd see a picture of two models, and the girl was, like trying to slap the guy or whatever. And it was like, but I don't relate to these people. These aren't the real people in the situation. So it created kind of a falseness about the story and a mistrust, I think, of the story. It's always been really important to me to not use stock photography. And now, in the age of AI, I think it's even more important to continue to show this is a real person writing these words and telling you this story. So the pictures help with that.
For some reason, it just flashed in my mind. You know the Friends episode where Joey, as an actor, did an ad for venereal disease?
I don't, one terrible thing. I did not watch Friends, even though one of my best friends is on it. But I did not watch that show. But tell me what it is. It's funny.
So he did an ad for venereal disease, and everywhere he went, it was like behind him, and women would be talking to him, and they'd see it, and they'd be like, "Go away!" You know? It's like that idea, not being the real person.
He was the stock photography or whatever in that situation. Yeah, what a nightmare.
And
Uh,
how did you meet Courtney Cox? You've been friends with her for a really long time.
she's one of my best friends, and we met before I started doing Jane magazine, and she had just started Friends, and we met through mutual friends. And the funny thing is, when we met, a group of us were going on a trip to New Orleans Jazz Fest, and she was going, and I was invited as well. And she said, I don't know about going on the trip with this Jane person, because she's a magazine editor, journalist, and I don't know if I trust having her not just write about stuff that I wouldn't want her to write about or whatever. Understandably. I mean, she's not overly cautious that way, but just whatever. being protective, rightfully so. And the mutual friend said, don't worry about it. Jane's not like that at all. And then we went on the trip and we just, oh man, we bonded like crazy, and she got to see immediately that's not who I was, that my friendship comes first, of course. And so I put her on the third cover of Jane, and we had a blast. We had a blast doing it. I got to go and just stay with her. And it was a good excuse to be together as friends while we were supposedly working by doing this article together. And we've been close ever since. Yeah. I moved in with her for a few months at one point out in LA. And yeah, she's the greatest.
I think also if you're a celebrity, you have to protect yourself because everybody kind of, like they say, wants a piece of you. But then the fact that you built a real friendship and you shared experiences on a trip together.
The very first dinner that we all had together, she was sitting next to me. She took out from her bag a number 2 pencil and showed me how my eyebrows were a little thin. And she showed me how you can use a number 2 pencil to draw them in. And she drew them in for me at the table. And I was like, that's a good friend already. Like, she really wants to help. She's really like, and that's her. That's her. She wants to make everyone look and be their best always.
That's very Monica also. I know you haven't seen.
I guess so. I guess so. Yeah, I know. I've the little bits of it I've seen. I know she's genius in it. And I know the show is amazing. I'm just not a TV watcher. And I was so busy with my magazines, I never had time to watch any of that stuff.
So you were in the heyday of, magazines. I mean, magazines now are going through so much change. Print is dying, right? Unless it's really niche. Because the cost of paper, because you have to deal with distribution, so much that Substack doesn't get involved with. So you don't have to worry about that. It's just you and the person, and it's kind of breaking those barriers and allowing you to monetize. So talk about some of those decisions that you've made. And are you paying writers? I believe you do.
We do. Just ethically, it's important to me to pay the writers. I mean, I think the Substack model is very clean because it doesn't require advertisers or sponsorships or even merch sales or anything like that. You can do a publication on there and have it be supported by the readers, by the people who want it enough to pay for it. And how beautiful is that? I mean, it actually goes back to what I did with Sassy magazine when we lost all of our advertisers and got taken off newsstands, but those girls wanted to keep getting it, so they kept subscribing. So it's a similar model to what I did way back when. And so it's a very uncompromising editorial setting to be in. You don't have to say that I'm not going to name a designer, but a certain designer is the best of the best if you don't believe that or anything like that. And I feel like the writers are growing it with me, but not just the writers, the whole community. I don't even actually differentiate between the writers who have bylines and the writers in the comments. And they often will flip places. I hire people from the comments to write pieces and get paid for them every single day. I'll see a good comment and I'll say, you are really good. Do you want to write something longer? And so that happens constantly. And that's really satisfying too.
You're really hands-on now. And maybe it's because you started Sassy, you were very hands-on. And then as things got more corporate, you had other responsibilities, right?
At Jane Magazine, I looked at a masthead recently from Jane Magazine, and there are about 100 people under me. I was like, what? Not under, but you know what I mean, working with me to put that out. I was like, what? Now I have Corinne, who is a brilliant editor. I have Charlie, who is a brilliant editor, writer, both of them. But they aren't even doing it full time. I'm doing it more than full time, but that's how I am. I like to do that. All these different writers who have joined it.
And how much do you pay writers?
Oh, yeah. We only pay $50 a post. As soon as we can, I'm going to increase that, and I'm going to keep increasing it as the revenue supports it. But all the money goes to that.
And do they retain the rights to?
Yes, they do. Yes, they do, which is a big part of it. There's one right now who's selling a screenplay based on something she wrote. So, yeah.
It's fantastic. I
Yeah.
love that. I have a
Yeah.
student who is selling something to Universal based on a piece that she worked on with me that ended up in Huffington Post. So,
Amazing. It makes you feel so good.
so what do you see as the future? And I already know a little answer to it. You are starting a book club.
An old-fashioned idea, but you know that I've never been part of a book club. I think it's partly what I was saying about why I've never watched Friends, that I've been so busy with my publications that I haven't had that kind of time. But I just started my first ever book club, and it's a controversial books only book club. So it's not about like, let's take our mind off of things and read this
Right.
fun book and and I'll kind of talk about it. And no, it's actually books that really make you think and that you may not agree with or whatever, and then we're all coming together to talk about them. So I'm really excited about
That's very on brand for you. So that's
it.
perfect. And you're doing Molly Jung Thast's book, How to Lose Your Mother, a Daughter's Memoir. And I read that book and it's
um,
really fascinating. She's the daughter of Erica Jung, who's Fear of Flying, which
yes,
a lot of people kind of know that from the 70s.
yes.
Maybe not
I
that
was really,
many people.
yes. I gave the readers the choice to pick of among a few different books or to nominate their own, and that one won by a landslide. So I'm excited because I wanted to read it anyway, and excited to have this group of people to talk to about it. We're all going to meet at my apartment actually for the book club. And honestly, the only books that I do read, I don't feel great about this, but I haven't read fiction in a really long time. I it's that part of me that loves the It Happened to Me's and all the kind of the work that I do, but I love biographies, I love memoirs, I love all nonfiction. And if it's controversial, I like it even more.
I love
so
that.
it so it did fit, yeah.
And did I read that you're working on a treatment for your memoir?
It's really coming along. I mean, I can't believe the stories that I'm telling that I've certainly never told. I feel like I've spent my career, getting other people to tell their innermost stories. And I feel like this is my chance to tell mine and feel that catharsis that they have all been telling me that they feel when they tell theirs. So it's exciting.
That's terrific. Are you far along or just starting or
Yeah,
middle?
we're taking it out to, I don't know how much the agent will want me to say, but we're taking it out to publishers very, very soon. And so just finishing up the treatment right now. Yeah.
Well, I think there's a huge nostalgia for those early days of publishing. I think there's real interest in it now
Yeah.
because I guess, the population of women who started with it, like in the 90s and the
Yeah.
80s, they're growing older and they want a little feeling of the youth, and also
Yeah.
the younger people today find it interesting as well because it's a world that they have never known. And so everyone likes to
Right.
experience new worlds. And then the kids of today, well, they're just learning as we go along. So,
Yeah.
I mean, my
Yeah.
daughter's 16, which is the
Oh,
age,
wow.
yeah, that,
Oh my goodness.
Sassy
Mine
was
is
born.
22. So you have one right in those years.
Right
Oh,
in those years. And
yeah.
for me, the most important thing is that she has that self-esteem that so that nothing can shake it. Nobody, no
Exactly. Right.
man, no person, no boss, no nothing. And
Exactly.
yeah,
With you as a mom, I believe she's got it. That is, yeah. I mean, that's the fact that that's your focus is to give her that too. I mean, that's the most important thing.
it's so important because do you have a girl or
Yes, my
a,
only child is a girl. Yeah.
so, for women, it's just dealing with everything. I mean, we dealt with it with the patriarchy when we were coming up and
Yeah.
misogyny and publishing, but now it's just part of the fabric. You just have to have that esteem to deal with whatever life throws at you.
That's right. It's still there. My daughter said to me just recently, we were talking about progression of different movements and talking about how far certain progressive movements have come just in her lifetime. This whole acceptance now of gender fluidity and all that, which was unheard of so recently. And she said, I think that women's rights have moved the slowest. And I think that's absolutely right. Yeah. That other things have come and really overtaken the people's interest and desire to move them forward. But things have not changed that much.
It's just so important to be able to withstand, I think, anything that, is coming our way. And I have to ask you this question because you're somebody, you're a trendsetter, you're on top of things. What do you think about AI and how it is affecting writers, our business, publishing, all of that?
Well, I think that there have been things that have come along all throughout that, that make it easier to automate the process of writing. But I think, starting with, typewriters or whatever, there have been things that have come along. And this is probably the most egregious one yet. But the others were helpful tools. This one, I'm certainly not a fan of what comes out of it in terms of writing, but I also think that people still have a discerning enough eye to tell the difference. And so I don't think that AI is going to push, it's hard to say. I want to say I don't think it's going to push real writers out of business, and I don't think that it will. So that's kind of where I come down on it. Yeah.
I think the creativity element, especially in the stories that people tell about their lives, is just so important. The way that they put it across on the page, and it's like their own stories,
Yeah.
Yeah. I do think that people in content marketing and, places where you don't have your name on it and that is more listicles, like I think AI is going to take that over completely.
I agree completely. I agree completely.
Human touch, the human element, that's a whole thing.
Yeah. I think
that's
so
what
too.
You're all about, right?
Totally. It's interesting because I feel like that's what I've been doing ever since Sassy is showing people how to make sure that it's really clear that you're a real person behind this, saying this. And so this is taking that challenge to another level for more people. But yeah, good. Get us all to hone in more on what our real personal words are that we want to use. And
this has been such a pleasure talking to you. Is there anything that I didn't ask you that you want to share, Jane?
Oh man, you're the best. This is so interesting. I could go on and on and on and on. No, I think the main things are I'm really excited for anyone who did read Sassy or Jane or XOJane to check out anotherjaneprattthing.com because it is really the next step from all of that. And the people coming there who have been at the other publications, it's like a great reunion. It's so much fun to all be back together again. Yeah.
And I'll share all of that in the show notes for sure.
Okay, great. And then this is actually, I'm not saying this to sell it because I actually don't, that's not my thing here. But in terms of this nostalgia thing, do you know what's been doing tremendously well through the site is these Sassy t-shirts. People cannot get enough of these things. So I'm selling Sassy t-shirts too.
I'm going to get one for my daughter.
Yes. They only come in pink with a hot pink logo. That's it.
I love it. Well, I love pink.
Yes, you do. It's good on you.
This has been amazing. I'm so excited to see what's coming next from you, and I can't wait for your book club, and it's so exciting to talk to you.
Thank you so much. Likewise for you. It's been amazing to see everything that you've done since that original encounter those years ago. Yeah.
Thank you. And I'm working on a memoir too, a little different.
Oh, but yeah. I can't wait. I'm ready for that one now.
I'll touch on when I was the dating diva and how that all happened and worked around my publishing experiences. So it'll be fun.
Yeah. Oh, you have amazing stories. I cannot wait. Would you consider doing something on Another Jane Pratt thing?
I would love to.
Yes. Okay, perfect. Let's do that.
Follow me at EstelleSErasmus.com on my website and on social media, which is Instagram, TikTok, and Twitter at Estelle S. Erasmus. And we're now on YouTube for Freelance Writing Direct. Follow along, and soon everyone will be reading what you're writing.